Now, we're getting reports from all across the state that there are large gatherings, social distancing is being violated, people are not wearing masks. We have gotten 25,000 complaints to the state of businesses that are in violation of the reopening plan. 25,000 complaints. We have never received more complaints in a shorter period of time. 25,000. Just think about that. What's alarming about the 25,000 is the volume, but it also shows how smart people are and how offended people are that they're calling and complaining. This is a time in history we've never seen before. Think about how concerned New Yorkers are, not just to see the violation, but then to care enough to come back and write a letter or call registering the complaint. You know why? They're afraid for themselves. They walk past the business, they see the business is violating the rules, and they're saying, my health is jeopardized. My health. And that's why they're complaining. 25,000, especially at bars and restaurants. Okay? This is the situation, and these are the facts. Well, they're not being ethical, they're not being moral, they're not being good New Yorkers. Great. They're also violating the law. This is a question of violating the law. Not just feel guilty. You're violating the law. All right? And this is a very serious situation, and I want to make sure everybody knows the consequences here. A bar or restaurant that is violating these rules can lose their liquor license. State Liquor Authority inspectors are out. We have a task force of state investigators who are out. You can lose your liquor license. And that is a big deal for a bar or a restaurant. We are not kidding around with this. You're talking about jeopardizing people's lives. It's a legal violation. And the SLA inspectors are out there. I am telling you that. I called a couple of bars and restaurants myself where I saw pictures of the situations that were in their bars and restaurants. And I said to them, you're playing with your license. There is no excuse, well, I told people and they did it, even though I told them. You are responsible for the people in your establishment. There is no excuse, well, the local legislator told me I could do this. No one can tell you that you can violate the law. There is nobody who can tell you that. Well, my brother said as long as, no, I don't care what your brother said. You violate the law, you can lose your license. And you will. We're not kidding around about this. If you are an individual, you can't violate the open container law. There's an open container law. You can't stand on the sidewalk drinking a beer. You're violating the open container law. The social distancing, mask wearing, these are legal violations. Protesters and police, the law applies to you. Well, I'm protesting. Yeah, I understand that. You can protest. The law still applies to you. Police department, your job is to enforce the law. Why don't you follow the law, right? It's a very bad signal when you see police people who are not wearing a mask and not following the law. How can you enforce the law if you're not following the law, right? So wear a mask. And also to local electeds who are in charge of the police department, it's your responsibility to make sure your police department follows the law. To local governments, you are responsible for monitoring the compliance with the reopening plan. That is the local government's responsibility. And we've been very clear about this from day one. We go to phase 1, we go to phase 2, we go to phase 3. The local government is responsible for compliance. Mayors, county executives, you have to do your job. I understand it's an unpopular position to have to enforce the law. I understand nobody wants to go to a sidewalk with people drinking and say, you people can't drink on the sidewalk. I understand that. I understand nobody wants to say to a bar, restaurant, you know, you're only supposed to be in an open air area and you're not supposed to be violating social distancing. I understand that. I understand it's not popular. I get it. You know what's more unpopular? If that region closes because that local government did not do their job. And that can happen. Utah, Oregon had to reverse their reopening plan. Before I reverse a statewide position, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to reverse it in those areas that are not in compliance with the rules. And I'm going to reverse it in those areas where those local governments did not comply with the law. That is what is going to happen here. And I am warning today, in a nice way, consequences of your actions. We have 25,000 complaints statewide. I'm not going to turn a blind eye to them. New Yorkers deserve better. Manhattan and the Hamptons are the leading areas in the state with violations. These are not hard to spot violations. People send video of these violations. You can look it up on social media. You don't need a detective squad to go out and find it. They are rampant, and there's not enough enforcement. I am not going to allow situations to exist that we know have a high likelihood of causing an increase in the spread of the virus. And if we increase the spread of the virus in Manhattan because of bars and restaurants, well, then everybody in Manhattan is going to suffer. And that's not fair either. Local government, do your job. Local government, do your job. If we have to close, then people are going to hold you accountable. Bars and restaurants, do your job. Or you can have an SLA violation and possibly loss of your license. Individuals who are violating the law, you can be held liable also. We got here because people did the right thing. And if we stop doing the right thing, we'll see a very different trajectory. And I am telling you that you look at all the other states, it's not hard to figure out what is happening here. It's happened in half the states in the nation. So far, we have been the exception. And we're not going to go back to that dark place because local government didn't do its job or because some individuals exploited the situation.